Hello, hello. How is everybody doing today? I see we've already got Erica Gloom in chat. What is up? Um, Today we have Roustan on with us without the Clonex mask this time. What was the decision there? Are you already tired of it, or?
Yeah, whatever. Like I'm fully doxxed, and I just wanted to try it out last time. I'd never used it before, so I
It
think
was
it would be too complicated for me to manage that and this with tutorials and things like that. So I was like, forget the jazz.
got him as easy as you can make it on yourself.
Right, right.
Yeah, so Roustan is on with us for a builder in Decentraland tutorial where we're going to go over wearables and weight painting today. So Roustan, for everybody on the call, do you just want to give a little bit of an introduction of
Yeah,
who you are and what you're doing in the metaverse?
totally. Yeah, so I'm a body painter. I paint on people and then I photograph them, and I brought my art into Web3 with NFTs and the metaverse. And immediately in Decentraland, I obviously was curious about wearables, so I dove in on that. And I'm probably like most people watching this tutorial. I had zero knowledge about that stuff, and I took it step by step and created some things that sold out, and it's worked. And I'm by no means an expert at this stuff, but I have methods that work, and I want to shout out Kirzaz, who was a big help in my journey with whenever I hit a speed bump, and also Grimy. He too was really great at that. But I'm going to show you a simple thing that it was a major speed bump for me, and how I sort of overcame it.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you have to share today. I still need to learn a lot about wearables, but I do think it's interesting. Like even the experts all do stuff a little bit differently. You know, there's so many ways to solve a problem when you're working in Blender. So it'll be really interesting to kind of get your perspective on it.
Yeah, totally. Actually, like the tutorials that I saw, obviously there weren't a lot of Decentraland wearable tutorials around October of last year. It was mostly Herodokai and KJ, which are both great. But with every Blender tutorial I ran into, it was like everybody was moving so fast, clicking things real quick. And I actually didn't have a mouse, so I was like starting with Blender without a mouse.
Oh,
Just
that
like,
is brutal.
yeah, I was using a touchpad, and I was like, okay, so I can't do that. And so I was like trying to figure things out, handicapped, and they were still like, when you're an expert, you still kind of explain things in a way that is just not so simple your grandmother can do it. And I was the grandmother that was trying to figure out Blender.
Come on, Grandma. You click this and then you do this and then this happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, a 9A, 7A says, "Gah, Blender without a mouse." Yeah, I probably would have just quit right there if I didn't have a mouse. um, but before we get into the tutorial, do want to do some announcements. So first off, there is an event coming up this Saturday. I believe it's this Saturday, right? Yes, this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Sandstorm with Cyber Kongs. Very notable NFT collection there. So for anybody who wants to party with some Kongs, go ahead and check that out. I think Slaterade's popping the link in there too. And yes, perfect. Look at that. Look at that timing. And then second is the Decentraland Builder Competition number 5 is currently live. So if we go to the Sandstorm site and go to view builds, we can see, somebody's already got a bid in, and we have like another week before bids are due. So bids are due on November 4th at 11:59 UTC. And this competition includes multiple items that have to be created. So Lost but Not Alone, it's a 4-parcel build, and you can use the prior island or you can recreate a new island. but it must have a friend that is created, an entertainment area that is restricted in size, a party snack that you've found on the island, and then an animated party activity. So last week we did go over emotes more, and we showed the new rig that you can use or download from the Decentraland docs to help out with emote creation. But for today, since we haven't dug too much into wearables and weight painting itself, we will just be using the normal avatar rig or avatar model, which Slaterade, if you can pop this link up as well, and then anybody can scroll down to the bottom where it says wearables reference model, and then you would just be downloading the base mesh for this example. And then we were going to show some of Roustan's wearables that have been created in the marketplace, but Decentraland seems to be having a little kerfluffle right now. So maybe they'll get this resolved within the next 45 minutes, and we can check some of the ones that you have published out at the end. But for right now, I think, Roustan, I will hand it over to you, and let's hop into Blender and let's check out some of your designs and just go over your trials and tribulations, certain things that are consistent issues with trying to publish in Decentraland.
All right. So I'm sharing a screen from the review forum, and let me look at this too.
And for anybody that doesn't know what the review forum is, when you submit your wearable to Decentraland, there is a committee that has to review them to make sure certain things don't happen with your wearables in Decentraland. So just because you submitted it doesn't mean it's going to be approved, and you will want to have your notifications on for the forum, because that's where they'll let you know what the problems are that you need to fix.
Right. So as soon as you complete your wearable, you test it out in the test world, and you're ready to submit, you click the submit button, and it automatically goes to this forum.decentraland.org. And this is the community wearables section. And this post is just automatically created from your collection. And so I made this back in December 21. And then you just wait, and you wait for someone to tell you what doesn't work and what needs to be fixed. And so in this case, I let's see. Oh yeah, my art on the back of my jacket. On the back of the jacket is a picture of one of my body paint artworks. And so they needed proof that I owned that. So I sent them that information, and then they came back with this issue in the hips where my shirt clips with the lower legs of the avatar. And the same case was on the male version. You could see the pants kind of coming through here on the bottom of the shirt. So I needed to resolve that before it was approved and ready for sale. So let me change my screen. And I'll bring you into Blender.
I feel like there are some wearables out where it's like it's just impossible to make it not clip.
Well, no. Well, I mean, maybe, I guess it depends if you're like creating some sort of element that like is kind of wider than the waist, and then if they bend over, there's just no way around it. So yeah, definitely that could happen. And I think there's exceptions to some rules. Like I have a shark head that I made, and there's some emotes where the hand of the avatar just clips the head. Like if you blow a kiss, it goes through the mouth and it blows hearts. And there's no way around that. But something like that, they're a little bit more lenient on. But for the most part, there are a lot of ways to fix things on the weight painting, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And do you see my Blender screen?
Yes, your Blender screen is up, and we've got your jacket and the avatar rig.
Right. And so when you download the base mesh from the link that DCLcurations just pointed out, you get the full avatar without a wearable. It's just a naked avatar body, basically, with head, chest, arms, legs, feet. And what I tend to do when I create a wearable is I delete the parts of the body that I'm not using. So in this case, I'm not using the head, and I'm not using the legs. And I'm doing that because when it comes time to export, it just saves me the trouble of of confusion. If I accidentally select a part of the body that I don't need, I'll end up with a lot of triangles that I don't want to use. And so like you'll see here, right now I'm in object mode, and I'm going to try to talk about this, like my thought process. I'm going to try to say it out loud. And I'm definitely no expert at that, but I'll try my best, and just let me know if you have any questions. But so right now I'm selecting the jacket. I'm in object mode. And if I click over to edit mode, you can see all the triangles. So all these triangles, they get counted in a total. And I think if I remember right, an upper body wearable has a max of 1,500 triangles. So I need to make sure that I don't exceed that. So if I had like, let's say maybe another part of the head or the neck, those also count as triangles in those shapes, and the legs have their certain count of triangles. And even on the arms, on the naked arms, those have their triangles. So on this jacket, I actually removed the triangles of the arms. So if I were to delete this portion, you could see that the arm is not there. You can see the bones of the armature. And so I've removed the arms and chest and everything that's invisible in order to see, or in order to not have those triangles be counted. And also what I just did quickly without you guys noticing is I changed back to object mode by hitting tab. Tab goes from object to edit, or whatever your last choice was. I think if I was in pose mode, it would go edit to pose. But also another thing, so when you first load into Blender with whatever file you have, you get this sort of form with no imagery on it. And so I would click this circle right here, the third one, I forget what it's called, viewport shading, and that reveals my image texture that's on my planes. And so at this point, we'll say that I've created this wearable, and I need to make sure it's parented to the armature, because these are two separate things, especially if I created this from scratch. And so I would select the jacket, and then I would hold shift and select the armature, and then I would hit Command P, and I would click on automatic weights, and this will create the weight painting automatically based on the location of the part of this wearable to the bone structure. And most often it would be almost perfect automatically, but usually I find the waist has an issue, which is why we're talking about this today, because I notice in those forums a lot of people have that clipping issue when they try to get approval. And one way to see this, I'll select the jacket and I'll go to weight paint mode. And here on this part here, there's the three, it's like a green triangle with three squares on each end of the triangle. That's the vertex groups. And this shows you all the bones of the armature. And the armature is this like metal looking thing. I don't know how to describe it. It's like
the bones, the rig.
Yeah, this is the rig, the bones. And so right in this area is the hips, and you'll see it. I have the legs and the feet and the toes. And even though I'm not using that, this is the base structure of the base mesh. So I didn't even create this vertex group. This is just automatic from the imported base mesh. And so if anything is a little funky with like the hips or something, you would come in here and make adjustments with weight painting. And actually I can see that this is orange, fades to blue. What is red is the hottest, and red will not move, basically, or red will be attached to that bone that you have selected. So here at the leg, obviously this part of the body is not attached to that leg. I'm going to Control Z to undo what I did, because I don't want that attached to the leg.
I guess out of curiosity, could you show it attached to the leg and then move the leg and show how that would impact?
Let's try. I'm not even sure what would happen, but let's try and see what would happen. So right now I added a whole bunch of weight to the leg, and I'm going to go back to, let's go to object mode, and I'm going to click on the armature, and I'm going to click on pose mode, and I did the left leg. So I clicked on the left leg, and I'm going to try to move it and see. Now when I move the left leg, you see the chest starts to move, which is not what I want to happen at all.
Not what you want to happen.
Also, I should point out that this movement button, it's not standard. You have to click on this transform. I think it usually starts on the arrow. So if I click on the armature, you won't see the movement. So I usually click this, and then I can click on red for forward back, or blue for left to right. You know,
I will say for like creating poses or emotes, using that feature is much easier than just like the rotate feature. For some reason, every time I just try moving the armatures with like grab and rotate, I totally mess it up.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think everybody can find what suits them best. This is what suits me best, and I'm sure there's many professional Blender users that would cringe at some of my methods because it's very time consuming. I've done things that taken way longer than it probably should. Now I'm gonna undo everything I did because I don't want all that, you know. So I'm making sure that the weight painting is gone. So we're back now to where I had it, but I might want to make this redder. Like, I'm kind of surprised that this isn't red right now. Actually, this is the corrected file that had approval. But see here, now I'm getting on the jacket a little bit, and this is where there's kind of an art to weight painting, where you kind of figure out what you want it to look like. And so as I have it now on the hips, these hips will not move at all. They'll be attached specifically to this bone. And if you have the upper body hips red like that, and then the lower body hips red, if I had pants here, those two things would not move, and then you wouldn't get that clipping issue that I had. So that's all that really needs to be done to reconcile that clipping issue.
So on the top or on the left side, where you're currently under that paintbrush that says draw, are there any of those other symbols or tools that you use, or you stick to draw? Yeah, a little bit the left, the symbols.
I use draw and I use subtract. So if I want to get rid of, if let's say this is too much onto the waist, then I would start to remove. And I know that like for me, with the way I do it, it doesn't always remove exactly where I want it. You have to kind of change the size of the brush and move the body around to get things to where you want it.
And how did you just change that brush size?
Oh, I hit the like the bracket keys. So there's the left bracket and the right bracket. Left makes it smaller, right bracket makes it larger.
Got it. And I see the radius changing there up in the middle of the screen too.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of cool shortcuts that I don't know. And there's a shortcut, I believe it's Shift K. I can never get it to work. Shout out to Kirzaz again for like all her shortcut tips that I always forget that are amazing. It's fun to watch them do it because they're like lightning fast. But like let's say I had like a little bit of weight painting here on the left upper leg, and I didn't want it there. I would use Shift K to subtract it all, but I never again know how to do that, so I just manually do it, and I just wipe everything out. And so usually when I weight paint, I go through every bone starting at the top or the bottom, and I just go through and I kind of move around a lot. Usually it's pretty clean from the automatic transformation or automatic parenting. But every once in a while, there's like a rando weight that I don't want there. Like here, for example, so this is a really old wearable, right? And I definitely don't have the weight painting perfect to my ideals, to my expectations. And already I can see right here, this is the right shoulder, which means when I move the shoulder, the collar will move. So let me see if I could demonstrate that now. Pose mode, I click on the shoulder and I move the shoulder down, the collar moves with it, not necessarily in the way that I want it to. So I'll probably, let's go back to object mode, select the jacket, and then I'm going to go back to weight paint, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to try to subtract the collar a little bit. And this takes a little bit of time and a little bit of trial and error. You bring it into the test world and test it out to make sure it works properly. I maybe don't want to remove the neck. Maybe I don't need the neck. Maybe I can remove the neck. Sometimes I'll remove too much and then you'll get this wonky shape jutting out of the neck that I don't necessarily want. And see, I just like hit the shoulder accidentally there. So this is kind of like a little bit painstaking, and it doesn't always remove what you want it to remove. So you kind of have to, like for me, at least on my setup, for whatever reason, I have to like play around and find the right angle to get things to remove. Look, and it comes all the way to this side, which I definitely don't want.
Interesting. Yeah, it does seem like it's showing some difficulties with the removal. And
yeah, that happens a lot for me. But so now I'm clearing out this whole side, and I'm still trying. I got a little bit of the shoulder again, so I gotta like painstakingly do this little by little.
Oh yeah, I'm subtracting on mine right now, and it's going pretty well.
Yeah, it could be just my Mac or whatever, who knows? Or maybe I have some weird settings somewhere. And so I got most of this off now. There's a little bit here that I'd want to try, but I want to see what this looks like. I got a little bit too much off around this neck, but let's take a look and see if that's any better. Click that. And pose mode. Click the shoulder again. And bring it down. There's still a little bit too much movement, but at least that opposite side is not moving at all. And so I would go back and mess with that some more. But that would be my process for weight painting. And so I would remove all, like anything that I don't want to move. I would try to get rid of that. So this slight green here, I would get rid of all of that. I might add a little bit more back to this, so this is not inconsistent with the flow, you know, but I would play and explore and just test it out in world and see what it looks like as they do emotes and stuff. And then when I'm happy, then we're good.
So out of curiosity, would like gloves be extremely difficult to make because you've got to weight paint them to every single bone in the finger?
Well, so there is so my latest jacket was a cyberpunk jacket, and I won a CloneX right at the
so jealous.
Yeah, at the, damn, what was the build? Jeez, I forgot.
Mountain Dew, come
Mountain
on.
Dew, yeah, Mountain Dew build.
Wins a CloneX there. Can't even remember the name of it.
But it gave me access to the CloneX assets, which included like the full body of a CloneX. And so I took the arms of the CloneX and I put it with that jacket. It was a cyberpunk jacket, so you have these android arms. And I had to go in there and weight paint each finger. And it was brutal. It was pretty brutal. Like here, I'll go through the weight of each finger, right? So there's the pinky, and like it's the tip of the pinky, the middle of the pinky, the like side of the wrist, you know, and it goes through each finger one at a time. And when I did the automatic weight painting, it did an okay job of lining it up, but it wasn't good enough. So I just manually went through it all. And after the fact, apparently there is an easier way to do it than the way I did it. I still don't know what that is, but like I said, I tend to manually go through these things painstakingly and get it. And I definitely didn't do it perfect, but it was good enough. And I think everything that I'm self-critical about, most people wouldn't notice anyways.
So like the automatic weight painting didn't apply there for you?
No, because the hands were not like perfectly built around the armature. And so
Right.
usually if you're going to animate something, you would rig it according to the sculpture, but in this case you don't want to change the armature because that's already like set and programmed to all the emotes in Decentraland. So messing with the armature can potentially screw things up, So I have this 3D sculpt that was pre-made, and I brought it in to connect with an armature that was pre-made for this, this mesh, not the Clonex mesh. So I had to kind of manually figure out a way to make it work. And so I took the painstaking route of like hand painting each finger. I basically kind of dodged the automatic weight thing and just applied my own weights manually.
That does sound tedious, but
Yeah.
I'm checking the marketplace again. I'm hoping that it'll start refreshing soon. We could showcase some of those.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my sort of weight painting thing.
So in terms of like building the wearable, right? And I did look up the limitations. Let me read those off really quick. It is no more than 1.5 thousand triangles per wearable, or 500 triangles per accessory, and then also no more than 2 textures. So I was wondering, in here, is your one texture the blue and your one texture the gray jacket, or how did you set up your textures for
Let's
this?
take a look at that. That's a good question. I don't even remember how I did it, but let's take a look. So I have the avatar skin right here. I clicked on this red world icon, and this shows you all your textures. And so the avatar skin, that's the hands and the neck. That's one texture. And this name, avatar skin underscore matte, that will allow Decentraland to change the color of the skin based on the choice of the user, right?
Oh, okay, right. So in this example, like if you wanted to export this, you would be exporting with the neck and the hands, or you would just export
Yes,
your jacket?
I'm exporting with the neck and the hands, and I'm keeping those textures on the. Let me show you the edit. These shapes, these triangles, are all associated with avatar skin underscore matte, and so this whole thing will replace the upper body part of the avatar. So the existing hands and neck on the base mesh don't matter when it's replacing. So I'm basically replacing the hands and neck with the same hands and neck that exist on the base avatar. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So yeah, like if you were to make somebody that has like jacked muscles or something like that, you would still be manipulating the mesh. So you would be building in, I don't know, larger biceps and forearms. So and then say they're wearing a tank top, so you would have their entire hand and arm up to the point of the tank top with the avatar skin matte texture. Then just to make sure that that everybody in DCL is always, I don't know, has the ability to change the skin color.
Correct. And creatively, you can use that also to your advantage. So, like, if you want the shirt to change colors, you can name that texture with the underscore matte skin. I think it has to be avatar underscore skin matte, but that won't change. That'll only change to avatar skin color. So, if you were to use hair underscore matte, you can control the color of the shirt by the complete color wheel spectrum of the color of the hair that the avatar uses. So that's how people create three RGB color changing wearables.
Oh, I actually did not know that. So you can, okay, that actually makes sense that there would be a separate mesh for the hair. And so if you did that and you changed your hair to pink, that shirt would change to pink then.
Correct.
But
So
what about the symbol that's in there as well?
that's this material here. That's the image, right? And so if I click over here on this button thing here, I'll go to UV, And you may or may not see, if you're creating a wearable, you may not see your image in there. But this is my one image that houses everything that you see on the wearable, and that's Jean Jacket. And so you'll probably have to load it up by pressing open. I think there's new and there's open. You click open and bring in your image, and then it should appear here. And so if I'm in edit mode and I select a plane, you can see that plane exists right here. And if I select this other plane, you can see it exists right here. And I have this inverted for whatever reason. Like, I probably could have designed this as one skull dove and made it fit, but because I didn't know what I was doing, and these were out of place, I set it up like this just so I can make something work with my inability to do things correctly. And I did the same for the back of the jacket. I think the way it was designed, the placement of, I forget what they call it. It's like normals mapping or something like that.
Yes.
It was just like, it was like off, and so I found a solution to make it work for me and my lack of knowledge, right? And but yeah, so this whole jacket is one texture, but you have the denim and you have the shirt, and it's all here. If you had two different image files of shirt and denim, you would have two textures, and you would already exceed the requirements to make a successful wearable.
Does the avatar skin mat count as a texture to them?
Most of the time, no. It like, there's also, you can add, let's say I wanted to make my skull dove glow, and that would be a third texture of emission. That would mean that this jacket would have three textures, and usually the skin texture kind of gets thrown away as a texture. But there may be instances that they might not accept it. So I don't know. It's that one's kind of tricky. Like, I had my CloneX head wearable, right, that I wore in the last episode using a Snapchat filter. The hair on that was RGB. That was an RGB color changing hair, so the user can select the color of the hair. And so obviously that texture had hair_mat in the name. And what I didn't know at the time and learned in the approval process was, when you use a hair mat, it doesn't necessarily count the triangles on that mesh, on that shape. So originally that hair had, like, I think it had like 10,000 triangles or something like that. Because I made that from scratch. I learned how to sculpt hair, it didn't count the triangles once exported. So I thought I was submitting something with 800 triangles, and it turned out to have like 10,000 triangles or something like that. But because it was called hair_mat, it wasn't registering the triangles, on the submission process. So I had to fix that after the fact, after I learned that it doesn't. So there's like weird little loopholes and things you have to watch out for.
I was gonna say, so did they let it go through?
I came back and I decimated the crap out of it. And decimating is when you let's do decimating. How about that? I'm gonna select all the jacket. I'm in edit mode. I selected all. You see the triangles. There's two ways to decimate. One is by using these modifiers, but I tend to just go to mesh, and I go to clean up, and then I go to decimate geometry, and then this little thing pops up. And right now we're using this is the full triangle count. So if I brought that down to like 0.5, watch the jacket. When I hit enter, you'll see the triangles change. Boom, see the triangles changed. But it also screwed up my sculpt a lot. So there's a point where you can't really decimate anymore. So you have this hole here. So all this stuff needs to be fixed. But I lowered the triangle count 50%. So I had to do that with the hair on the CloneX to get it into the, I can't remember what the max there was there for that. I think I was able to do I think the max for a helmet is 500 triangles, but because I hid a hat and I hid other accessories, you're allowed to go above the 500 triangle count limit, because now you're also using that category of hat and whatever
Uh,
else there is, so you
you
can
know,
double it up.
I feel like that's something that we might not have covered before, but so I actually do think it would be interesting to look at when you bring this asset into the DCL builder and you're testing it out, the different things that need to be hidden or not hidden to make something work properly. Do you have any? Oh, well, actually, shoot, I don't know if that part is working either right now.
Possibly. Let me see if I can. Here, I'll stop sharing this screen, unless you want to stare at this.
I actually, so I do have a question. I'm trying to check right now on the DCL builder, so I will let you know
Let me see
if it
too.
works. But I guess just from like an intuition perspective, like it to me, building a wearable, it seemed intuitive that like the wearable itself would need to be bigger than the rig, and the rig would need to be like hidden inside. But I've seen wearables come out that are like skeletons or like stick people. So I guess if you were to take this jacket and make the arms just like extremely skinny, to the point where the armature is actually sticking out of the arms, I mean, that would still be totally fine, right? It would just look like a really skinny person.
Yeah, it should work. I mean, you can make stick figures. You can do all sorts of. You can do anything cool. The armature is invisible, so it doesn't matter if it's sticking out of the object.
Yeah, and I guess the size of the typical DCL avatar body doesn't matter when you're creating your own wearable.
Right. I mean, you can't go too big. There's limitations on largeness, but I mean, the only limitation on smallness is at what point do you no longer see it?
That's interesting because is it you that has the fairy emote out?
Yeah, I made the pixie emote.
The pixie emote.
The first two, yeah.
So that's interesting. Like if you had the pixie like just as a wearable, would people just be that small, like running around?
They would, but that's no longer allowed. So there was the roach and there was the fly, right? And those came out and were hilarious and awesome. And after a while, Decentraland decided that could complicate things in the future. So they don't allow wearables to become that tiny, but it's okay for the emote. It's
Like
totally
what if I wanted to create like a gnome, for example, or Santa's elf? Like, could I at least make people shorter?
That probably wouldn't work. They probably wouldn't accept that because it doesn't fit the armature. So like the fly and the roach, they don't react appropriately to the armature the way that DCL expects. So
And you can't weight paint your way around that?
not really. I mean, maybe no. That would be kind of hard. It wouldn't move right, I don't think. But it's not worth the effort if it won't be accepted anyways.
Right. Well, I did check, and it looks like the builder collections is up. So yeah, if you would be down to show kind of that edit mode, and then obviously on the right side where you have all the different options of what this will or won't hide. And I think that we could talk a little bit about how to categorize certain accessories as well to take best advantage of like the tiara slot and things like that.
Right. Okay, let's see. Let's go and let me see.
Yes, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop them in chat. Oh, that's the cyberpunk jacket. That is
the cyberpunk.
sick,
Yeah, so
dude.
this was gifted to people that collected my Nifty Gateway mint.
That is awesome.
Let's do the clone, I think. So this is my builder page with all my items. You click on it, and then it comes here, and then I click on the three dots, and I go to open an editor. And I'm not going to click save at all because it's going to screw up everything. But so you see, I have 2,000 triangles. I think my limit was 2,000 or 2,500. I don't remember. But so I'm hiding the head, the hair, the hat, and facial hair. So you can't add those things when you put this helmet on. And because I hid that, that increased my allowance for triangles. I think by 500 each. So there's 500 automatically for a helmet. I'm not sure if the head counts or not, but I definitely got to 2,000. So 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, and they might have just let me slide for going just 16 over. Either that or I was given 2,500. I'm not 100% sure.
It's interesting you're hiding the hair, but you said the hair does have that texture applied, so it's still changing colors whenever people change color.
Right. So the hair that I'm hiding is the avatar sculpt of hair. So if I don't hide the hair, oh man, it's not going to show unless I save, and if I save, that'll screw everything up. But what would happen if I click save is the hair that exists on this current avatar, and you can select here, there's 2 pigtails, right? That would suddenly appear and it would clip through my helmet. And then in order to hide it, I would click back over here and click on hair. And so all this stuff will be hidden when I save. I don't want to do that because then I'll need to get it reapproved.
Yeah, I did not realize that. Oh, I did that to one of my wearables, and now it just continually says pending.
Right.
And I forgot what I changed about it, but
yeah, there is a way to reset it to the. Let me go back here. Don't click it. There's a way to, maybe because this one's not pending, it doesn't let me. But you might be able to reset it to the way it was when it was first approved, and it'll probably go back to this little green circle.
Well, Slaterade, what happened to the screen? There we go. Okay, yeah, let's look at the categories there, because I guess one thing I didn't realize that if you were, I guess hiding, if you were creating a jacket, which the max try count is 1,500 tries, but you had that jacket hide hair and hat and things like that as well. I guess, would they even let you hide those things with just
probably
a jacket?
Not. It's it has to make sense, I think, and have purpose. So they'll probably just be like, you have head hidden and it shouldn't be hidden, to look weird. They'll probably say that it looks horseman. But you could try. Yeah, certainly, maybe go for it.
Has anybody made
that makes sense to me?
Person?
Well, there's the Wonder Zone head, right, with the neck chopped off, but they sculpted the neck.
Okay.
And the bone sticking out, so that replaces, or that hides the head, right? If you click replace, that actually, let's say your normal avatar, like mine, has a face with a beard and a mustache, maybe, and whatever special avatar feature. If I have this helmet set up replace head, that's gonna basically default the head when you take the helmet off. Now you have to re-add your beard and your eye shape and everything, which is annoying. So I would avoid replace as much as possible. You see how it says users must re-equip them after removing your item. If you have, let's say, a bandana on, or I can't think of an example. It's like some hat, and you put this on, the hat gets hidden, right? But by my helmet. But when I take the helmet off, my hat will be back without me having to reapply it. So
it's interesting. It's almost like you would never want to replace anything at that point.
Right. I'm sure there's a good reason to, but I haven't run into it yet. But like for a benefit of the way I do it is I can wear my clone head and I can wear a Wondermine hat, right, or glasses, and I can still get the benefit of the Wondermine bonus without having my Wondermine hat visible.
I see what you mean. Yeah. So the hat would still be hidden, but since it's technically equipped, and you have to have it equipped for the bonus.
Right. So that's cool.
Let's look at the categories that we have here. So, I mean, you have it categorized as a helmet, but I mean, just for the sake of like conversation and examples, if you had classified that as a hat and you're still hiding everything else, and it's still modeled and rigged, the same way, like why does it matter that it's in that helmet category? Is it just from a user search perspective, or?
Possibly. They may recommend you switch it to helmet because it tends to represent a helmet, but it might work as a hat. I'm not sure if they would. I think hats generally don't hide the face usually, so
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I could classify my pants as upper body and my glasses as shoes and my earrings as pants.
I think the approvers will say like, no, you have to put that in the right category. It gets confusing. And like I can show you an example of one of mine. Let's see, it's
I guess it would screw with everybody else's, hide systems. If you're saying like hide a hat, but they have a hat that's classified as pants, then it wouldn't hide the hat.
Right, and I don't have it on mine because I made the Cove beer can for Canessa. So the Cove beer can is a can that you hold in your hand. It looks like it's not loading now. It's a can that you hold in your hand, and let me see if I can find it. Load. It's a can that you hold in your hand, but I have it listed as a tiara. And so I put a piece of jewelry on the forehead to allow it to be considered a tiara. I don't know why this is not.
Oh, interesting. So it's a can that also comes with a piece of jewelry.
Right, basically, and that's how people are getting around that, right? And so and it's almost invisible. It's just like a tiny eyebrow piercing, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
And so that, but I in my thumbnail, which won't load right now, you have to see the head. So you'll see a big head, and then you'll see a little hand holding a can. But the jewelry is visible in the thumbnail as a tiara, and that's how it got accepted as a tiara. And I selected tiara because I feel like that's one of the least commonly used accessories, and I wanted people to be able to hold the can with as many different accessories as possible, so they don't have to sacrifice like, an earring accessory. They can hold the can and also have an earring accessory, because I think most of the time the can would probably fit best as an earring. Most people tend to make those accessories with an earring.
9A7A does have a question for you. Roustan, ever made a full body wearable, and ideas of how that would be categorized for TriLimit? So I think this is because there's multiple parts of the body that could work together, but then there's also the skin category. So skin categories, I will say, I'm looking at the stats for it right now. It's limited to 5,000 tries and 5 textures. Is that like, are the body paint ones skins?
Or? So the first one is a collection of upper body and lower body. This one down here. And I had to do it that way because of the triangle limitations. I originally wanted it to be a full body thing. It actually, I think, works out better as separate, so people can combine pants or whatever they want, with the upper body and vice versa. My second body painting is this Roustan RGB Fun Paint. That's a full body one, and I sculpted the whole body. And so this, I learned a lot more since I did the first one, and I added that RGB hair color matte to the paint so that people can choose the paint color, right? And then the skin is the avatar skin matte. So those are the two textures, skin matte and hair matte. And I just had to be very meticulous to keep the triangle count fitting properly under in the recommendation.
So
I managed to do it.
Is this classified as a skin?
No, this is not a skin. This is an upper body wearable.
So why not do it as a skin when the skin category would have given you an extra 3,500 tries?
Well, the skin, like, to me, skins are underused and a lot of times they hide certain accessories that I want to keep, you know. So
So does
I
a skin force hides basically everything else?
sometimes, yeah, it seems to in some cases. I haven't played around with skins too much, mostly because most users prefer not to use skin. They want to show off their identity. So this keeps your avatar face, right? If I did a skin, I'd have to design the face too, which would replace the face of their regular avatar. So this one keeps your head, and now you have this body with paint on it, which is cool. So there's like pros and cons to each method, and for me, this just made more sense as far as like maintaining the user's personality.
Yeah, that's cool. 9A7A, I hope that answered your question. I guess one benefit, he says, does that two-piece set glitter?
It glows. It has emission, which is a whole other thing in Blender. And there's a little bit of there's kind of like rules of the road as far as the intensity of the emissions, and I don't even remember what I have these set at, but like kind of like how I showed you decimate, how there was 1.0 was the full triangle count, and I brought it down to 50% at 0.5, right? Emission, you can control the intensity of the emission, and so I think between 0.4 and 0.6 is the recommended emission strength.
Yeah, I guess from a glitter standpoint, I don't think there's really animated wearable capabilities, which is what you would have to do to make it glitter. But you can kind of, like I know Dapcraft has a wearable out, and some other people do, where the way the wearable is set up, when you're walking and when people like look around you, it kind of gives off the impression that the wearable is glittering, but I wonder, can you bring animated textures in for wearables?
You can't bring animated textures, but I do have that on this shark head, the glitter. So there's like a kind of a glitter aura that comes with this shark head, and it's just like you said. Basically, you have this these emission, the set emission on a small shape. In my case, I think I made like triangles, like really really tiny triangles, just floating in the air. And they had an emission set, and also I don't think it mattered, but I made the material super reflective, like a mirror almost. But I don't think that that adjustment in a wearable actually translate into DCL. But what happens is with the emission and the shape of the glitter is even just the idle movement of the avatar causes it to move. And what you would do is you would take this floating glitter and you would weight paint it on a part of the body that moves the most. So you could add it to maybe the hand or the shoulder, and when a character is not moving, the avatar still is idle, right? There's an idle animation where it's like just shifting its weight or something, and you can control the movement just a little bit. It makes it seem like it was animated, but it's not really. It's just, and like on this Tranquility bot, for example, I weight painted the robot to, I think, the opposite shoulder. I don't remember exactly which one I did, but if you put this wearable on, the bot floats up and down just a touch, so it looks like it's alive, and it's not moving the same way the avatar is moving, because I weight painted it to a part of the body that contradicts the movement of the avatar itself. So it looks like two different movements, basically. And these are just kind of things that, I explored with trial and error. Like I think I weight painted it to one shoulder, tested it out in world, saw how it moved, saw how it emoted, what happens when it emotes, and I didn't like it, so I switched it to the opposite shoulder, or I might have checked maybe the side of the head or something, and I settled on something that I just felt was the most realistic.
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome to hear. Well, like the thought process that you're going through to make these different things happen, it's very creative. I love how people can take certain limitations and be like, okay, I can't technically do this, but can I hypothetically do this,
Right.
and then start playing around with it. I think that's really cool. We are at the top of the hour right now, so I do just want to plug again the contest number 5, the DCL builder competition number 5 that we have going on through Sandstorm, $10,000 cash prize or prize pool this time around, with the submission deadline on November 4th. And then Roustan, just really wanted to thank you for coming on twice this week now.
My pleasure.
And taking everybody through this. Yeah, any last words from you? Anything you want to plug or event coming up?
I mean, boy, I have so much stuff I can't even remember. But I just want to encourage people to go for it. Like, I keep hearing people saying things like, I can't wait to make my first wearable, or like, when I make my first wearable, like, just do it, just go for it. Like, it's hard at first. Yes, it was really hard for me, but once you get past that, you get better, it gets easier and easier, and it's better to go for it now than to wait. Like, don't wait on making an emote. Like, it's all laid out in the docs how to do it. Go out there and try it, make some money. Like, it's cool. It's such a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, if you can win some of these competitions, like the one coming up, the minimum cash prize for top 10 winners is $250, and the cost to mint the emote would be $150. So, could take the emote created in the upcoming competition and decide to mint it with your profits. So that's one thing to think about. I see BitLancer, catch you later. 9A7A, thank you for always being on. Arutas, I came late but love the last of what I heard. Thank you. And this is recorded, so I'll make sure to put this link up in the Discord as well once it's up on YouTube, so that everybody can watch it. Yep, Slater had mentioned replay will be up tomorrow. But thanks everybody that was on, and Roustan, thanks again. I feel like I gotta have you back at some point.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
That's my dog saying goodbye too.
He doesn't want it to end. But all right, everybody, have a great rest of your day.